Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1. My name is Reese and this is the Saturday news video. Not a lot to get through this week, but still some very interesting things to discuss, including what I'm christening the Antonelli rule. We'll discuss that in a bit. The repercussions for Sergio Perez after the Canadian Grand Prix, and some changes at Stake F1 team Kick Sauber. Before we get into that, though, there was a video that went out on the channel yesterday with me using F1's new AI trophy generator. So after this one, go check on that one out. That one's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy that one. But let's get in to the news, because the big news this week is that the FIA have changed its rules to allow 17-year-olds to now enter Formula One, as long as they have, and this is a quote here, consistently demonstrated outstanding ability and maturity in single-seater Formula Car competition. Well, there you go. So the rule before this, of course, was you had to be 18 to enter Formula One. That was the rule that was established by basically Max Verstappen. After he entered Formula One at age 17, the FIA went, never again, and said, no, you have to be 18. So now the rule will be, you can enter at 17 if you're really good. So, the finger here basically has been pointed at Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli, who is their next big thing, and who is currently 17 years old. The rumours have been flying around that he'll be in the Mercedes car for next year, but there are also rumours that he could be in the Williams car for this year. And this seems to maybe confirm a Williams mid-season swap to get Antonelli in and Sargent out. But personally, I don't like this. I have to say I don't like this. I have no issue with 17-year-olds being in Formula One. You know, as a fan of Max Verstappen, it'd be very wrong of me to say that 17-year-olds should not be allowed in Formula One. What I don't like about this is the wording of it and how really it's just kind of an objective opinion. There's no real statistics or facts thrown down to say this is what we deem outstanding ability. Because let's say, hypothetically, following this rule, Antonelli could be in the Spanish Grand Prix, right? So the rule here says they must consistently demonstrate outstanding ability and maturity in single-seater Formula Car competition. Now let's have a look at Antonelli's record. Because, you know, of course, he is the Formula 4 the Italian Formula 4 champion. He won Formula Regional Middle East and Formula Regional European. So, you know, you could say, well, that's consistently showing whatever they said. What did they say? I've forgotten the word already. Consistently demonstrate outstanding ability. So you could say, winning those Formula 4 and Formula Regional competitions, that's enough. Personally, I don't think it is. I think you need to be showing well in Formula 3 or Formula 2. And for me, Antonelli, thus far this year, has not shown outstanding ability. He's been very good. There's no two ways around that. But let's have a look at his results, right? So we are 10 races in to Formula 2 this year. He has been 14th, 10th, 6th, 6th, DNF, 4th, 10th, 4th, 4th, 7th. And that's in a Prema. Now, I know Prema were not good enough at the start of the year, but they have come back around, and they're getting a little bit better. Ollie Behrman's also struggled this year in the Prema, but, you know, realistically, you can look at some of all these races and go, for example, Imola, that was a surefire win for him, and then the car let him down. You could say in Jeddah, he was on pole position, but then he had to go into the Ferrari. So you could point to little things here and there for Ollie Behrman as to why he's not performing as well as he should be. For Antonelli, I think he is performing as well as he should be, and this is a realistic representation of how good he's been this year. So if we are talking about outstanding ability in a single-seater Formula Car competition, being in what you could argue is the second or first best car in Formula 2 and not getting a podium in your first 10 races, is that really demonstrating outstanding ability? Because that's the thing here. I can see Antonelli being in Formula 1 this year. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised if by Monza he's in the car. And then, they all say, oh, well, he showed outstanding ability in a Formula car. And then a few years down the line, we're going to have someone else who they're going to go, right, that 17-year-old can make it. And they'll say no, because he's not showing outstanding ability. That's the thing. It's a subjective opinion upon their results and their racing. And I don't think Antonelli has been good enough this year so far to say he should be in Formula 1 next year. Never mind this year. And that's what I don't like about it. Before the rules have been cut and dry, you must need this amount of super license points, and you need to be this age. Now, having something which is so fragile and so easily twisted, I think demeans all of it. And we go back to a couple years ago when AlphaTauri, as they were at the time, wanted to get Colton Herta in the car. Colton Herta has consistently shown how good he is in IndyCar. He's not one of the top guys in IndyCar, but he is racing against some of the greatest IndyCar drivers ever in that category and is still doing relatively well. The competition in IndyCar is a hell of a lot higher than it is in Formula 2, and Colton Herta has shown that he's good enough to go with all of them, but there was no bending of the rules allowed there. The super license points don't give IndyCar enough super license points, but we weren't allowed to bend the rules there. But if Mercedes Starboy wants to get in a year early, we're going to make an entirely new rule up, which is entirely subjective upon one guy's opinion. I think there's something fishy here, and I don't like it. And I don't want to have this seen as me taking anything away from Kimi Antonelli, because he is doing very well. To be 17 years of age, in Formula 2, skipping Formula 3, and still be doing this well is very good. There's no doubt about that. But it's not good enough to jump into Formula 1. The gap in talent between Formula 2 and Formula 1 is huge. And, we've seen year after year after year Formula 2 champions not being able to make it into Formula 1. Or Formula 2 champions not even getting the chance to make it into Formula 1. But now we're in a position here where Antonelli, who's never sat on a Formula 2 podium, could be in Formula 1 next year. He's currently 6th in the championship, and there's multiple rookies ahead of him, including one who was in the Mercedes junior team up until November. Paul Aron, who was in the Mercedes junior team for years, was dropped a few months ago and is now currently leading the Formula 2 championship and will probably never see Formula 1 because he's no longer associated with any other junior team. But Antonelli, who's been here for 10 races, is going to get the call up early. It makes Formula 2 redundant because you have people like a Teo Pourchaire, or you have people like even a Frederick Vesti, who did fantastically last year and didn't win the championship, who aren't going to get it. Felipe Drugovich was fantastic. Liam Lawson was fantastic. If we look at the list of Formula 2 champions of the last few years, so Teo Pourchaire was last year's champion. He is with the Sauber Academy, which is one of the most pointless academies in the history of Formula 1. So we'll probably never see Formula 1. Felipe Drugovich was the champion the year before. He's in the Aston Academy. Aston, who have Fernando Alonso, who will never die, and Lance Stroll, who will never retire. So he's never going to get into Formula 1. Oscar Piastri was the year before that. Now, Oscar Piastri was in the Alpine Academy, which is another pointless academy which will never call anyone up, and he had to leave and go to McLaren. And then it was Mick Schumacher, who got, 2 years at Haas, then out the door. Nick de Vries was the year before that. and he was in the Mercedes Academy, and they never called him up, and then Red Bull had to call him up and drop him halfway through the year. Then before that, we have George Russell and Charles Leclerc. So you've got to go back to 2018 and George Russell for a Formula 2 champion who's been kind of given a fair go at Formula 1 with the team that is his actual junior team. Not Oscar Piastri, who had to leave his junior team to have a fair go, but George Russell, who was part of that Mercedes team and got a fair call up from there. Imagine how George Russell must feel, by the way. George Russell, who was Formula 2 champion, I think he was Formula 3 champion as well, got the call up to Formula 1, had 3 years in Williams having to prove himself before getting the big call-up to Mercedes, and as he gets called up to Mercedes, they're no longer a top team anymore, and he has to struggle through there, beats Lewis Hamilton, looks like he might beat Lewis again this year, it's kind of on the line there. You know, he had to really struggle and prove his worth to get to the position he's in right now. Antonelli, 10 races in Formula 2, not one podium, and he might be getting called up already. I don't think it's fair whatsoever. And I know sport isn't fair, and especially Formula 1 isn't fair. There's loads of guys who make it into Formula 1 who shouldn't. You know, Mazepin, Latifi, you know, we've seen them all. But this, I think, is truly, truly unfair. And, you know, we see people all the time go, oh, Red Bull have the ear of the FIA, or Ferrari have the ear of the FIA. Normally it's whoever is winning championships has the ear of the FIA. But this, for me here, this is Toto Wolff going to the FIA, we want our guy in early, and the FIA have gone, okay then. I don't like that whatsoever. Yeah, I'm ranting a bit now, but I feel I've got my point across. I'll make a video on this fully at some point. So I was looking into the Mercedes Junior Academy earlier this week, and there's a lot I want to discuss about it. So I'll make a video on this fully some point down the line. I'm working on too many different videos at once at the minute, so yeah, that'll come at some point. Let's talk about something else, though. Sergio Perez. So Sergio Perez has been given a free-place grid penalty for the next race, which is the Spanish Grand Prix, due to his car being driven in an unsafe condition. Red Bull have also been fined €25,000 for this as well. Now, I've seen a lot of people talking about this and saying that this was basically the same as Crashgate, which is one of the biggest leaps I think I've ever seen. Now, was this dangerous? Of course it was, because he was driving that car back in an unsafe condition. Bits could have fallen off that car, hit other cars. Yes, it was dangerous. And he rightfully has received a penalty. And Red Bull have been fined. I thought that Red Bull would be fined for sure. I wasn't too sure about Sergio's penalty. But is this the same as Crashgate? No. So just for those of you who maybe can't remember or didn't watch the race or for whatever reason, what happened here was basically Max was in the lead, Sergio crashed, and instead of pulling the car over to the side of the road, which is what he should have done, he drove the car back to the pits so that a safety car wouldn't come out, so Max's lead would not be threatened. In the end, it didn't matter, because Sainz and Albon had their crash like a lap later and the safety car came out anyway. But I've seen a lot of people say that Crashgate was purposely causing a safety car for Alonso to win, and this was purposely not causing a safety car to help Max win, so they're the same. And it's one of the stupidest things I think I've ever heard in my entire life. So Crashgate was purposely putting your driver in danger because you're telling him to crash into a wall at high speed to manipulate the results, so that, you know, they knew when the safety car was going to come out, so they knew when Alonso had to pit to gain the advantage. This was an accidental crash for Perez, and then, yes, as I say, it still is dangerous, but nowhere near as dangerous as telling your driver to drive into a wall. And, you know, there was no manipulation of the result here. They didn't go, oh, Sergio, accidentally crash on lap, whatever it was, 40-something, and then drive back to the pits. So the people who are saying this is the same as Crashgate, I think they either have a vendetta against Red Bull, which a lot of people do at the minute, because, again, they're the ones who are winning, and people don't like the ones who are winning, or they're just stupid, and they're to be ignored. let's move on now then. The last bit of news I want to talk about here is that Stake F1 Team Sauber have got someone new within their midst. It's Stefano Soldo. He is the new performance director. He has previously worked at McLaren as the director of vehicle performance and Red Bull as the head of aero performance. So a big get for Stake F1 Team Sauber. I imagine, like everything to do with that team, this is all about, that transfer over to them becoming Audi more than improving Sauber's results right now, which are dreadful. But yeah, a good get for them, and I haven't really got much else to say on that there. So there we go. That is our Saturday news video for this week. As I said, go check out the AI Trophies video. It was a fun one to make, and it's a good laugh, so check that one out. We'll be back next weekend for all things Spanish Grand Prix, and I think it's a triple header of Formula 1 races. So a lot of stuff to come on the channel. Make sure you subscribe for all of it. I will see you then. Until then, though, have a good one. Goodbye.